guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Selenia for those who do not know, and in today's video I want to do a video all about reducing the risk of medical errors. I know that's a big thing, and I figured if we always do these chit chat videos, let's start doing some more knowledgeable ones, quicker videos that just kind of explain tips and tricks that I think that can help you be the best nurse. So yeah, let's get right on into it, and I hope it really helps. So let's go. All right, so I am, for people who have not been here before, I don't know how many people have been here, how many who have not when they're going to be watching this video, but I'm a NICU nurse. I was a level 3 nurse for like a year and 3 months, and now I'm a level 4 nurse, and I just finished orientation last week. So I've had experience of being a nurse twice, I guess you can say, like 2 different jobs, and I just wanted to share a little bit of knowledge from me about medication errors and how to decrease the risk of them. I feel like especially for new nurses, but not just for new nurses, older nurses too, or people who have been in the game for a while, it's always important just to think about a few of these things. But I kind of want to dedicate this video for new nurses because, or new fresh nurses, you know what I'm trying to say, you know what I mean? But I have a handy dandy iPad here, so I have all of my notes, and I have 7 tips and tricks that I feel like would be beneficial. Feel free to comment more down below if you feel. It's hard to think of like all of the ones ever, but I was literally sitting at work and I was like, sometimes this is overwhelming. There's a lot going on, especially when you work in the NICU. You're giving really small little doses, and you want to make sure that it's correct because small things can ruin these patients, especially babies. So I always like to be on top of my game. So I literally wrote like 7 little tips and tricks to try to reduce the risk of medication errors, especially for new grad nurses or newer nurses like myself. All right, let's get into tip number 1. All right, tip number 1 is checking with the MAR, okay? A lot of these tips are going to sound easy, but sometimes you just gotta get it in your brain that you still have to do this even if you've had that patient for 15 million years, or you've had them for 15 shifts in a row. Just, you still need to check the MAR just to be sure that the medication is the correct one that you're giving. I'm pretty sure everyone has a MAR, right? Or is that just Epic? Well, in clinical, I had Cerner before, but I know nothing else besides Cerner and Epic, and I've worked with Epic for both of my jobs, so that's what I'm familiar with. So if I say MAR and that's not the thing for you, it's a medication administration record. If it's a different charting system, then I hope that makes sense. You know what I mean? But make sure you check to see when you're actually supposed to be giving this med, what med you're supposed to give, all of that good stuff, all of that shebang. Check with that before. And I also feel like another tip that is nice, but do not only do this, but like right when you get into your shift, after you get report, all of that good stuff, I would write down my list of what meds are due and what do I have to do throughout my shift. And that's how I plan it, just to make sure that I get everything. So if when I sit back down, I'm getting ready to chart, I can look at my list and be like, oh shoot, I need to give this med before the time is where it's considered late. Do you know what I mean? So I like to write it down, but I still look at the MAR before I give it, and I still look at the MAR when I'm doing my care time, but it's just another way to think of what else you have to do, because sometimes days get really hectic. Let's say you gotta have an x-ray, an echo, parents are in, you have to answer a lot of questions, doctors are coming by, you need a lot of changes when it comes to your patient, and sometimes you're just like, okay, I'm doing all of this, but you still need to do your core nursing duties, which is your assessment and giving all of your medication. So I would write down a little list of your plan for the day, but still make sure you actually check your work list, your MAR, all of that good stuff to make sure that you get everything that you need checked off the list, so you're able to walk right out of that door when it hits 7 o'clock, whether it's 7 a.m. or 7 p.m., however that works for you. All right, so tip number 2 would be not only checking the label, but the medication itself, because guess what? People make human errors. Who are the people down there making those medications? People. Pharmacy is people down there drawing up the doses, printing out those labels, all of that type of thing. So being able to check it again, make sure that it's correct, because I've had at both jobs that the medications were incorrect, even though the tag said that this is what it was. The solution that was actually drawn up, or the medication that was drawn up, was incorrect. So it is important to not only check the label with the MAR, but checking the MAR and how much of the dosage is, and you're not really able to know if that is the actual right medication without the label, do you know what I mean? But at least checking the volume and what's in there, milliliters, milligrams, all of that good stuff, the dosage, the patient's name, all of that good stuff. Make sure that you are checking that. Does that make sense? Hope that makes sense, okay? Like, maybe I'll go into more detail. So like, someone draws up a solution. Let's say it's 1 milliliter, just to make it easy. They draw up 1 milliliter, and on the label it says that it's supposed to be 1, but when you actually check it, it is 0.6. That's wrong. You know what I mean? That's incorrect. So then you're like, okay, that is incorrect. You can call the pharmacy and let them know that I am short some of the dosage, and you can also let your provider know, whether it's your NP or your MD or PA, whoever it is, to let them know. All right, tip number 3 is making sure you're checking the MAR and make sure that it is right with the patient, if that makes sense. So you're checking the label against the MAR, making sure that it's actually the right patient, because a lot of the times you don't just have one patient, and like, except in the NICU when you have a really, really sick baby, you have a one-on-one, but you want to make sure that you are actually checking that label to make sure that it's for the right patients, because sometimes I have 2 babies and they're right by each other. You have to go to the Pyxis and go get it, or however that works. You want to make sure that you are giving it to the correct patient. So utilize that the MAR aligns with the correct patient on your medications and before you give it and all of that good stuff. Another thing is scanning your medications. That is what is so, it's not even a tip that I wrote on there because I feel like it should make sense, but I'm gonna say it anyway. Scan your medications. Do not give your medication and then scan that bad boy later. No, like, you think that it's right at the time, but trust me, it's not. It is not. I've never done it before, but no. Literally, make sure you scan that med and then give it to the baby just in case that it is incorrect, because how are you going to get it back? Or your patient, how are you going to get it back if you already gave it? If it's an injection, it's in there. If it's an oral medication, you already squirted it in their mouth. If it is a IM, if it is a eye medication, if it is a, you understand what I'm saying? Just make sure you scan that bad boy first. Scan it first, because they have all of this technology nowadays where it helps you be like, oh, that's not the right patient. Would you like to try something else? Or, oh, this isn't due at this time. Utilize the smart systems that are created to reduce medication errors. All right, so that was number 3. That was kind of tied into, I made it number 4. We're just gonna move on to number 4. If you are unsure about the medication that you're giving, if you're unsure about the dosage, if you're unsure about anything, ask questions and be sure to ask another nurse. Make sure you're like making friends, or not even friends in the unit. If it's patient safety, be like, I have this medication here. I'm a little bit worried that this isn't right, or I'm not sure what it's used for. Do you mind checking with me and verifying that this is it? Especially when it comes to narcotics. I feel like in the NICU, you already have to double check with another nurse, but make sure you are double, triple checking, because things are very, very potent, not just for big patients, but for little patients as well, okay? So make sure you are checking with a nurse if you are unsure about any part of the medication process at all. If you're new and you're like, oh, what do I do again? What am I supposed to do? Ask those questions. Save your license, save patients' pain or adverse effects, save it all, okay? Right. Tip number 5 is to check and double check and triple check and quadruple check. Make sure you are checking that label, make sure you're checking the actual thing that's in the syringe, make sure you're checking it to the MAR, make sure that when you're pulling it out of the drawer, you're checking to make sure that it's correct with whether it's an Omnicell or a Pyxis or whatever it is, making sure that it is. And then when you're bringing it to the bedside, make sure you're checking again. When you go to the bedside, check that patient band, make sure that that is the correct band that you're giving with the medication. Cross-check, quadruple check, do what you gotta do just so you are not risking your license and not risking your patient's well-being, if you know what I mean, just because you're moving a little bit too fast. And like, feel free to slow down, like especially when you're new, when you're first starting, you see people all around you on go mode, and that's okay for them because they've probably been doing it for a while. But it is okay to like take your time, think it through, no need to be in a rush. Will you get out late some days because you're just trying to make sure you get everything done until you get that routine down? Sure, but it's better being late than making mistakes. Right, tip number 6. This is, I probably should have put towards the beginning, but utilize your 5 rights of medication. You learn it in nursing school, whether you're in nursing school now or you're just graduated nursing school or you left nursing school a while ago. Utilize your 5 rights. Is it in all of those classes like pharm, or assessment, all of that good stuff. Sure it is, but they keep like hitting you over the head with it because it is so important. So the 5 rights of medication: right med, right dose, right patient, right route, and right time. They made it easy for a reason. I don't know if there's a little acronym, or is that what those are? Yeah, acronyms or whatever it is to remember. What is all of these? I'm trying to see if I can think of something. There's an MDPRT. Okay, I can't think of anything at the moment, but there's probably some online, so feel free to check. If I find one, I'll probably link it down in the description below just to help you remember, but make sure you utilize the 5 rights of medication. Right medication for your patient. You're actually giving the right thing that is due at that time. The right dose. You're checking to make sure that little vial, or you make sure you're checking at the syringe, or you're making sure you're checking that your bag or your pump, whatever it is, you are making sure that it is the right dose for the patient. You make sure that it's the correct patient, because us as nurses get busy. We get busy and we have 2 to 3 patients, 2 to 4, depending on where you work. You may have 5, which is crazy to me, but it gets really busy. So make sure you're giving the medication to the right patient, especially when you have twins, triplets, all that type of stuff, because sometimes they are not on the same medication at all, or a different dosage, so make sure. Right route, make sure you're not giving it, let's see. Make sure you're not giving an eye ointment orally, like something like that. That sounds so silly, but just make sure you're reading the actual label because it's on there. And then make sure you're giving at the right time. I don't know how it is with your hospitals, but sometimes they have this thing where you can give it up to 30 minutes before and up to an hour after, or up to an hour before, 30 minutes after the time, however it works for you, or however it works for your hospital system, whether it's an hour before or an hour after, however it works, just make sure you're giving it at the right time because it's important. You don't want to like be doubling up on dosages of the medication that you're giving because they gave it at a different time for a reason, right? All right, and then last but not least, tip number 7 is to remain organized at all times. That kind of ties in with not moving so fast and just taking your time. But if you have like a very cluttered workspace and you're trying to give all of these medications and you're trying to do your assessment, you need to pull out all of these supplies for this and that, trying to be organized is the best thing for you, because if you have so many things around you, you start to get overwhelmed. Or at least I'm just gonna speak for myself. I would start to get overwhelmed and I'd be like, what am I supposed to be doing? Sometimes you'll see all that mess, you'll be like, oh, let me just give this real quick so I have one thing done out of the way. No. Just make sure you are following all of those tips that I gave you, and make sure you're trying to organize your workspace as much as possible. Sometimes does it get hectic? Sure. But then work on cleaning up that nice little space, or getting prepped before your shift of organizing everything that you need, which is helpful with writing down all of your plans for the day, so you're kind of ready when you go into that room or you go into that bed space and you're nice and organized and you have your head on straight. Another tip that I would feel to kind of decrease the risk of medication errors would make sure that you are finishing charting before. I mentioned this in another video because it just really helps for me. Like snack or lunch, I love to make sure that, not love, but I like to chart before I go on lunch or snack. I don't like to save anything for when I come back from my snack or my lunch, because probably you never know what you're gonna walk back into when you come off of break. So it's best to be as prepared and organized as possible to decrease the risk of any errors at all. But this video is mostly about medication errors. So I really hope that it helped. Tried to give you 7 tips, but I blended in through it all. You guys know I can talk forever and ever. So I hope that it was helpful, nice, clear, and concise. I'll probably list them down 1 through 7 down below too in the description bar so you guys can see it with your eyes as well as watch the video. Okay, and I really want to thank you guys for watching this video. It makes me so happy that you guys are enjoying my channel, and I feel like I'm so happy with what I'm doing with this channel, and we are slowly but surely growing, and it makes me so happy that you guys are part of my community. Make sure you comment other videos down below that you would like to see. I'm gonna do more sit down chit chats like this because I know I do a lot that are talking about like what I'm doing with my life and what my job includes, but I kind of want to do some more general nursing tips for people who aren't just NICU nurses, and one, bring more people to my channel, build the community, as well as help more people that I feel like would be great. So comment other tips that you guys have down below to decrease the risk of medication errors. Share some stories if you would like to, and I will see you guys in my next video. Bye, beautiful.